Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Trader Merlin Show. It is your Friday weekend edition. Bear with me as I have some technical difficulties. It always seems like difficulties arise here, so I'm going to do my best to fix the stuff on the fly. For some reason, I can't see any of your chat, which is unfortunate. So I will, there we go. Now we're good. I can at least see your chat, but it's going to be delayed. I'm trying to show spreadsheets for you that's not working, so I got gremlins in my system today. My apologies. Hopefully things will work out fine when we finally get to the end of today's show. So I will be watching your chat as you go here on the YouTube channel. Not my normal place. Anyway, hope you had a great day. Hope it was fun. Hope you made some money out there. I had some great finishing to my trades, except for MicroStrategy. We'll talk about that here in just a second. So let me run through what I talked about in my my write-up for today's show. And again, I'm watching you guys to see if there's any problems with the show. I don't know why my system's such a mess here today. But my trading week wrap-up, we will dive into a variety of different topics. I want to start by going into, I guess, some of the bigger pieces for the day. And that's going to be the unemployment data. So unemployment data was a big piece, obviously. We saw those numbers. Let me go here and bring it up for you. I thought this was really a positive sign for our markets. As you can see here, the unemployment numbers been slowly dropping. The last 3 months, we were at 4.2, then 4.1, and today came out under expectations. Expectations were that it was 4.1. We came out at 4.0, which, from my perspective, is pretty darn good. Looked like it was a good day from the unemployment perspective. So let me see. Cool, you guys can hear me. It's so weird when I can't read what you're doing and chatting real time. I guess maybe it's this. I'll bring up my little screen for you guys here. There you go. Cheers, I guess I need to do for this Friday edition. I haven't had a glass of whiskey with you guys in a while, so maybe that's what's throwing me off today is I've not had a sip yet, so let me get that going. So I mentioned a friend of mine brought me for my birthday. It's called Left Cross, and it looks like an old rum barrel. Like I figured this is something I'd see on a pirate ship, like, "Aye, you matey, I'll drink a rum." It's actually bourbon made in Jamaican dark rum casks. A 14-year-old bourbon, pretty dang good. Now my day's gonna get that much better. Even though my computer may be on the fritz, I am not on the fritz. I'm doing good. All right. Anyway, unemployment data. Why is this so critical? I have been expressing my thoughts on why we're going to see higher unemployment. And I think the market as a whole has been looking for higher unemployment. So the fact that we came out lower than expected, I think sets a pretty, a fly in the ointment, if you will, to be politically correct here. You know, this looks great, all in all, fine at 4.0%. But if you look at what's going on in the bigger picture, thousands of employees from the whole U.S. aid company out. I spoke with a friend of mine last night who has friends in government, we will say a policing agency, just to keep it safe and clean, and says that it's total chaos at that major three-letter department that we all know very, very well. And just more chaos and unorganization that's ever been in that agency based off what's going on, and people getting fired left and right. So while it seems great right now, remember the number that we're seeing, this 4.0, does not reflect anything from, well, I guess I'm going to say anything. It really depends on when the cutoff for the data is, but this should be representing December's data. Right? Even though we're getting it February 1st, people think it's going to be for January's numbers. To me, I feel there's a lag time on this one. So this either represents January or December, or some mix of the two. Remember, Trump took office on the 20th, so we haven't really seen anything that has been hitting these markets, impacting this yet. So I think this is a one-off. I think this is kind of a joyous moment. I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know. In the chat here. Unfortunately, YouTube is messed up on my screen, so I can't see it all live. I'll have to look at the delayed chat. But what do you think? Do you think that this is a one-off, or do you think we're actually got back on track and starting to see more improvement with the job situation, or are darker days to come? And I kind of have to throw myself in the darker days to come just because of all the crazy firing that's going on government levels right now. Now, will those people be able to go out and find other jobs? Sure. Hopefully they'll be able to find other jobs. Others might transition to some other employment, whatever. But there's plenty of jobs out there. It's just, to me, kind of scary to see how crazy the firing scene is going on right now, and all the chaos that it's causing on Capitol Hill, and all the political finger pointing and waving and getting all crazy. All in all, the number today looked great in my opinion. going down to 4.0%. And for those of you who are wondering, this is an AI-generated picture. I don't know what that third guy from the left is doing. He's like sitting on something. His feet are all up in the air. Strange. So what do you guys think? I'm reading through your chat here. GS says, I think the worst is yet to come. I think we're going to get rough for a while. Yeah. You know, and ideally, I'd like to believe that this is going to get better. I'd like to believe that we're going to, you know, like anything, there's a shock factor, right? There's that initial jolt to the system. And I think right now we are all experiencing this jolt to the system. Again, whether you support what's going on or you're anti, it's going to shock our system regardless of our opinions of it. So, yeah, I'm curious to see what the next few months hold for us. I think it could be worse data than going forward. Big Ab, how was the golf, my friend? More than half the jobs created in the past few years were government jobs. Yep, it will drive the jobless rate up for a while. Yeah, feel the same way. More firing and layoffs. Well, you know, that has me in a conundrum right now because, you know, my job is to take a step back, try to look at that unemployment data, try to look at those numbers and say, you know, what does this mean for me? How can I trade it and make the most of it? When you see this number drop to 4.0, it does imply to me more bullishness for the markets. Now, does that mean that we get bullishness for the next couple of months? You know, maybe the next quarter before these numbers really start to hit. Here's your S&P today. You know, we really didn't get much of a reaction to the jobs report. It was down 0.92% for the S&P. You had the NASDAQ was down 1.3%. Russell was down 1.1%. So the numbers weren't great as far as market performance today, even with great news about the unemployment numbers. So I do kind of get this feeling like the overall market will kind of list or slightly go up off the jobs numbers, but later on, I think probably when you get into the second, third quarter. Remember, I initially was saying bullish the first 2 quarters of the year, bearish the second 2. It might shift here a little bit if Doge continues to just machine gun jobs off the map here. What was my next piece I want to talk about? Okay, this is a question that came in. Unfortunately, I don't have the question that came in. I apologize. I think it was Steve. I'm not sure. He's asking about U.S. Steel. Saying, you know, what are your thoughts on U.S. Steel? Would I look buying U.S. Steel? You know, what's the play there? I guess first we have to understand the politics of it. As you guys know, Nippon Steel wanted to acquire U.S. Steel. And there's all this, I don't know, uproar about Japanese companies or foreign companies, period, owning U.S. corporations, especially ones that are, we'll just say, system critical, mission critical, right? It's like, I don't know how many people here would be comfortable if all of a sudden you heard that China was buying Boeing, right? If China was buying Boeing, I think there'd be a lot of people going, hold on a second. Yeah, I don't know about that. Or if China was buying, you know, some other staple of America, we probably would have issue with that. And U.S. Steel, literally U.S. Steel, would be somewhat problematic. And this was something that Biden was going against, saying, nope, not going to allow that deal to go through. Now, Trump came out and said, that he's going to broker the deal, mediate and arbitrate the deal between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel, and that Nippon will not own U.S. Steel. They're not going to own it, but you can invest in it. Now, we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. You look here at the chart of U.S. Steel. It's been on a pretty nice rally over the past month or so, going from $29 up to hitting about $41 today on this big volatile swing because of what Trump said. Now, if I look at the chart here, and I'm going to just say it was Steve that sent the message because I can't remember, but I think it was Steve. When I look at this chart here, while I love the idea of owning a steel manufacturer, particularly one that is rooted in the United States and most likely has the backing of government and support of government in the quote-unquote too big to fail era, if I look at this one, I don't like the chart. I just don't like technically what's going on here. Yes, I know some of you are going to pull the card out of my stack here and say, well, Merlin, it's making higher lows for the past 3 months. Yeah, sure, I like that. But it's also been making lower highs for the past year and a half. That I don't like. So even though this might be a good deal for U.S. Steel, and this might bring in more optimism, the big fall in U.S. Steel here was because the deal was broken, and they're not gonna, it's not gonna go through. Biden was gonna block it, and that caused a lot of people to think that U.S. Steel may go under. Well, I don't know if this necessarily fixes their financial problems, but if you have Nippon Steel step in and be an investor in something that was already kind of hurting a little bit, maybe that can right the ship, get it back to days of prosperity, and it keeps it U.S. owned. So, all in all, I like the deal. I like that Trump's getting in the middle of it and trying to make it a better deal for the U.S. but I just don't personally know if I'd be wanting to be a buyer of it. And the main reason I'm questioning being a buyer of it is just the price chart itself. Again, I have to put my emotions and feelings about U.S. Steel and all that's going down on the back burner here and just look at what's going on with price. Now, could we get to a point here on U.S. Steel? Put a little line across the top here. Let's do that one. You know, you've got it's not really the best looking trend, but we'll just say something like that, roughly connecting all the tops. You know, if we get a close above that trend line, maybe I become interested. There's also, you know, areas of supply over here where we got 3 of them that go all the way up to about $43. I think if you get above 43, then you're really looking at, okay, smooth sailing, tides have changed, and here we are now looking at more upside moves. So it's a tough one. I can't say that I'm that excited about U.S. Steel, honestly. The chart just doesn't look that great, but maybe Trump will help out there and continue on pushing that one higher and higher. Now, the other one that I had a question on was Roblox. Now, I've followed Roblox for some time. Yeah, it'd be Japan Steel, right, Margaret? Let me real quickly run through your questions since it's a different screen for me today. Let's see. I believe October 2025, the unemployment will go way higher. I'm with the Chio. I think by the time we get to October of this year, I don't know if it'll be way higher, but I think when we get to October, maybe I should have like a book here that just says my calls, my outlandish calls on the market. I think currently we're at 4.0 on the unemployment rate. My guess is by October, we'll probably be about 4.4, 4.5. I think you'll start to see it really start to tick up here in the coming months. Maybe we're even down next month, right? We get to 3.9, and then it starts to surge because clearly these current situations is going to cause a lot more unemployment. Let's see. Steve says, I think we'll be bearish by mid-March. Okay. Could you still call it U.S. Steel? Yeah, right? I mean, as long as your majority ownership is U.S., yes. Otherwise, Japan Steel. Hey, remember, Bank of America was originally Bank of Italy. Let that one sink in. That was long before my time of markets where I even knew if regulators were going after that one. True unemployment is probably about 15. Yeah, Jimmy, you know, one of the things we can look at there, it's called the U6 rate. We'll just do the U3 rate. And you can actually go pull these stats up directly from, let me make sure I get it, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? So here's the Bureau of Labor Statistics, just to see what it is really at. And you could look at something like Shadow Stats. They have a much more aggressive unemployment rate number. But if you look here, the far right column is January 2025. And if you look at U3, that's what we are reported. That's what we've reported today at 4.0. U6 shows the real unemployment rate at 7.5, which, you know, let's look at the trend over the last year. It does look like it's been drifting lower, right? It's been getting better and better and better. So all in all, on paper, things look really good. The reality of the situation could be much different, and I just don't know. So let's go look at Roblox. Roblox is another question that came through asking what my thoughts were. RBLX, I think this one had a pretty big dive recently. Yeah. First, I have actually, when I was doing my session for my crypto program, as you guys know, I teach a crypto program at a couple of different locations, and I was asked about this one as far as a metaverse game. It's not a metaverse game, but it is a location for you to go and play hundreds of games that they've created and compiled and kind of put all these games in one spot. So it's kind of like a game addict's dream place to go hang out, even though from my experience, the games are all very, very basic, nothing really complex like a Call of Duty or Drake's Passage or something like that. Nothing really, I don't know, role-playing extreme. It's just kind of basic shooter games and chess games and things. So the argument against Roblox has been that this has been a haven for pedophiles, for for bad people with going after kids, because you have typically in this environment, they're kind of childish games. So you get a lot of young people playing games in there. Now, that shouldn't stop me from investing in something if I felt that there was opportunity. And let's be honest, when you look at the chart of this, I think everyone's going, damn, that looks really good. I mean, just from May of last year, we've gone from a low of right around $29. I'll put the low point on here so we can see it. Yeah, $29.55. And just a couple days ago, we had a high of right around 73, 74. That's a gain of 157% in a little over half a year. Pretty impressive run. Why? Well, I guess just demand, usage, a lot of people playing with it. There is an investigation going on by regulators about safety concerns for the users of this, i.e. kids, meaning that kids are potentially vulnerable using Roblox. Now, who knows if that is actually true? In watching a lot of the videos that I have from, I mentioned, guys, there's a hacker that I follow on YouTube. I can never remember his name, but he is phenomenal. And he'll tell you sites like this are fraught with, just creepers looking to hook up with kids. It's really just disgusting. So there's an investigation going into Roblox. Years ago, there was also talk about them having issues with children and inappropriate things going on in the chat room. So that's one side. That's kind of your fundamental higher analysis of it. The second side would be the business. As a business, it seems fine, right? You've got an arcade. You got an online arcade for kids. But if there is a lawsuit, and it does happen, knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't, but if something does happen to some of the children that were in there, which there are documented cases of people meeting up with kids where they met through Roblox, this could be pretty damaging for their reputation. So I can't remember who sent in the question of Roblox. I personally wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. My bias would actually be to be more bearish on it than bullish, even though the trend looks so good. But I just, it's outside my realm of expertise. It's not something that I'm interested in. So I'm just going to move on from that one and not touch Roblox. All right, let's see. Let's see. Divine invest heavily. Donald. Let's see. Maybe those laid off government workers can fill some of the soon-to-be deported jobs. Big Ed, that's a good one. So let's see. I've got an issue in here in California where a lot of the hands-on manual labor, strawberry pickers have been deported. And all of a sudden, I'm going to get some FBI agent who's been displaced in their job out there picking strawberries. I'm pretty sure it ain't going to happen that way, but who knows? We've seen, there's a great, hilarious movie that deals with this craziness going on in the United States, and maybe that is it. We'll continue on with craziness. Who knows? Strange things can happen here. All right, let's go into what I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the name of that damn movie. Idiocracy. Idiocracy is the name of that movie. All right, let's go into our top 8, and then I will run through trade. Actually, I'll start with the trades I made today. Only trade I made is I sold some calls against MicroStrategy. Sorry, I sold some puts on MicroStrategy. I sold the 305s on MSTR, expiring next Friday, collecting about 1.8%. So that was nice. Good to get a quick rate of return there. And then I still have my shares at 352 and 350, and I was going to sell calls against those, but I decided to wait until Monday. I just didn't. I feel like we're going to have a nice upside move here in a couple days, so why not try to get more premium for that trade? Now, the one that I was really happy about, very happy about, and I did get a question from one of you. Let me pull up the name here so I can give you props. This was from Bill. Bill asked if I could go over my my trade results for my SMCI. And here is the thumbnail for that one. Did your SMCI shares get taken away? Can you show the results? Yes, I can, but for some reason my USB drive is not working on this computer because I have a spreadsheet that I use that allows me to show all that. But for some reason, that little thumb drive decides just not to work on this computer. Strange things going on. Gremlins in my system. So ultimately, it turned out to be a phenomenal trade. And this goes back to the statement I was making the other day. My original position for this is SMCI. Let's go SMCI was $34, right? So I had a few thousand shares at $34. I'm not sure why it's not showing up on my screen, but I will change this here from 33 to 34. All right, 34. My original position was here, and I've had it for a few weeks now. And I've just been selling calls against this position. It seems like every Friday it's closed just down below 34, which is perfect for me, right? I love it. Stay below. The premium is just phenomenal on this bad boy. And over the last 4 days has been a just incredible run up in SMCI. Let's look at from bottom to top. SMCI has rallied 43% in 4 days. I actually call it 5 days. So phenomenal move there. And of course, having thousands of shares was wonderful for me. And I had the $34 calls against it. So I had collected the premium at $34. Shares got taken away. So I actually have 3,000 that got taken away, and I have another 3,000 that expire next Friday at 34. So most likely those will get taken away too. So why am I excited about this? Well, I'm excited because earnings is next week. Earnings is on Tuesday. And, who knows? Remember, these guys have had a series of issues. Remember, Supermicro Computer was under heavy scrutiny because they delayed their earnings announcement, and then they lost their auditor. Right, the auditor walked out and said, "No, we're not going to do this," and that was such a huge thing that freaked out a lot of people. So, SMCI still hasn't reported yet. They still haven't given out their earnings, and this is like their first earnings coming out for I think maybe 1 or 2 earnings misses that they haven't reported. That makes me pretty nervous. I get pretty nervous about that. So I was very happy to let that out. Just let those shares go away. I still have 3,000, so I'm 100% stoked with that, but we're fine. I got the $34 calls on that. Most likely that'll get taken away, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday with the earnings. Now, what could happen is it could have a phenomenal earnings announcement and jump right back up to its days of old, which were, we were talking about $120 prices back here in 2024, and then there was concerns about the company. They delayed their reporting, and now all of a sudden we find ourselves at these very depressed low prices. So, strange situation to be in with Supermicro Computer, but I'm happy that half my position is gone. I still have the rest of the second half to go, and I will show the results of it if I could get this thumb drive to work. For some reason, it just does not want to work on my computer. I'm plugging it into all kinds of different ports. It just will not work. I'll try one more and see if this works over here. Now, the beauties of trying to do things live on air with you guys. All right, that's my last shot, and we'll see if this one works. So, those were the two things. I was really looking at Nike. I thought about going for some Nike here, but look at the chart of it. Nike's been on this just bloodbath of a move for the past couple of years now. It actually looks like the shape of a shoe, doesn't it? It looks like a Nike right here. And you're at the very tippy toe. Technically, this does not look good. I actually like the $70 level. That was a level I was interested in, and I did sell just a couple there at that price, but not a lot. I'm not very comfortable with that trend overall. I'm kind of catching this falling knife, and we'll see. Since I had the 70 strikes expiring next Friday, we'll see. I did not think we would get down this far that quickly, but I do have the 70 strikes on that one. Okay, let me dive into our top 8 here. Nike is, totally disgusting. Totally disgusting chart. It is appallingly bad. Let's run through our top 8. Get to our top 8, and then I got to wrap up a little bit early here. I got a meeting at 3 o'clock sharp, pretty important one, so I apologize if I'm going to... Why am I apologizing for a 1-hour show, or less than 1 hour show? Okay, top 8, bottom of the list, Bitcoin. Bitcoin looking pretty darn ugly today, at least down 1.33%. We started to have a little bit of positive activity, started to look somewhat okay, and then it just keeps on drifting lower, slowly but surely drifting lower. So not happy with this one. I don't like the way that it's headed. I kind of thought we'd have more of an upside move. And the negative part for me is if you notice these last 3 days, now this is Bitcoin futures, but the last 3 days, we have decisively longer up tails. That tells you that it was rallying, and then all of a sudden selling pressure pushed it back down. And it's happened 3 days in a row. That's not good. That means that people are selling the rallies on Bitcoin. Not a good thing. If that continues, then we will have no problem getting back down here to this 90,000 level, which we're not very far from away as we speak. So not the best of news there for Bitcoin, especially because I own MicroStrategy as well. So I'm and IBIT. I've got MicroStrategy and IBIT. So I've got a lot of Bitcoin plays going on here. Not good. On the downside for the equity indexes, you had the NASDAQ 100 down 1.2%. But, technically, it's just chopping sideways. Just lots of volatility. No clear direction. Gone for now are the big trends on the indexes. Your Russell, same picture. Really just sideways action. We tiptoed into that demand zone on on Tuesday, Monday. And now just kind of listing sideways between 2337 and that low point there at 2207. So you got about a 130 point range in between here, which of course has plenty of opportunity, but the chart just doesn't look that great for decisive direction. S&P, same thing. Big volatility, lots of sideways chop. We were down 0.9% today, ending the week. Funny, if you go here from where we closed last Friday, down week. Even though the picture looks up from where we opened on Monday morning, right? We opened Monday morning down. We were up 1.12 from that point, but I always go from the closing price of Friday because that would equal week over week. Down 0.29. A losing week for the S&P. Can you believe it? A losing week. All right, top 4, dollar index. Nice little move up today, but still just kind of following this sideways trend that's been in place for about 2 weeks now. 108 is where we're at with the dollar index. Still, I think this downward yellow demand zone will be the key point here if we even get close to it, so keep your eye on that one. Gold, 0.38% increase. We have a shooting star today on gold futures, and if you look at GLD, you have a different picture. You have, I don't know what we would call this picture here, but just a bigger red-bodied candle. But looking at the futures, there's a nice little shooting star, and this is similar to what we saw in GLD 3 days ago. That basically means if we open up on Sunday night above 28.76 on gold, look to short it below 28.76 once it breaks. That's your third place finisher, up 0.38 on the day, and a good week for gold, by the way. A very good week. We're talking all-time highs yet again for the week. If we go Friday to Friday, sucks being colorblind, but it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, I got to zoom in here to see the colors. No, that's red, so that's down here, and that's green, so that's up there. That would be a 1.86% gain for the week for gold. Not too shabby. We'll take it. Now, crude oil has continued its slide, even though it was up today 0.55%. Been a really bad downtrend. Again, I do think it's going to continue to go lower, and just a slow grind lower. We might have pops along the way, but yeah, there's just too many factors. Demand slowing in different parts of the world. You also hear about more production costs, etc. I think it's going to keep pushing it lower. And then our big gainer on the day, 1.28%, bouncing off that little yellow box we've had there 3 days in a row. It's kind of hit it, bounced off it today to the tune of 4.49%. That's getting up to right around 4.5% on that 10-year yield. Now, the thing that makes this challenging, in my opinion, is that the 10-year, we've heard from Bessent and from Donald Trump. Remember, he said, I demand that yields go lower. I demand that yields go lower. Well, in true Donald Trump form, he was, being a big baby and complaining about rates. However, he complained about it, but then he added correction because he realizes that the short end of the yield curve, he can't do anything about that. He can just irritate Jerome Powell. And he backpedaled and he said, no, Jerome Powell is handling the short end of the yield curve. That's for him. We're talking the long end. So he corrected himself there. I think someone came in and said, hey, listen, you can't do much on the short end. Let's bring the long end of that yield curve down. So I don't exactly know how they're going to do it or what they're going to do. I want to ask Bill this next time he's on the program. But it sounds like your Secretary of the Treasury and the President have an agenda to bring that yield curve down, to bring the long end down, meaning that yields should start to drop. Now, that's all expectations based off of what the President has said and the Secretary of the Treasury. So who knows where this thing is going to go. I still right now am in the camp of moving higher just because of supply and demand. Now, unless the U.S. government becomes the biggest, even more so of a demander of the 10-year, I don't see things changing. They have to do a lot more buying, in my opinion, to push these yields lower, and I just don't see them doing that right now. And maybe they'll take some of the savings that they're going to get from all these jobs. Who knows how many billions of dollars are going to be taken away there. Gio says, Merlin, do you still believe that Bitcoin will hit 250,000 by September? I do, for a couple different reasons. And I talked about this with my crypto students this morning. Number one is just overall demand, right? Just flatline demand from people like yourselves, me, retail demand. Second part is how the regulatory shackles have been dropped. Now we're going to get clarity, which will help and hurt some cryptos, right? We'll have some cryptos that are going to be punished by regulation. We'll have some that benefit immensely. Bitcoin is already past that hurdle. It's already being classified as a commodity by the CFTC. It's being left alone by the SEC. And now you have ETFs and all sorts of other derivative products, futures products, options on the futures. You're starting to see an adoption of Bitcoin in the whole ecosystem. You also have on slate, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but there is talk about a Solana ETF, an XRP ETF, and a Litecoin ETF all happening within the next couple of months. That further increases demand. That further increases adoption and acceptability of crypto and digital assets. Then you add in the number of states that are trying to do a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So you guys tell me and type into chat, how many U.S. states right now are petitioning and filing to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve for the state, not on a federal level, but on the state. Now I'm looking over here because I'm trying to find it. I have a really cool page I want to show you guys. This one's so cool. Now, how many states out of our great United States How many states are petitioning to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve? This is important. Remember, a strategic reserve doesn't have to be just by the government. It can start on the state level, and then the government does it. Obviously, there's more money on a federal level, right? Because they control the printing presses. But when you have a state, let's just say like, I don't know, Arizona. And Arizona, which isn't the biggest state, but they do have money, they can park that in Bitcoin and therefore drive the price of Bitcoin up, and they make money in the process. It's much better. So let's see, I've got 25, 20, 16. Janet says, I don't know. Joe says 12. Pure guess from Liz was 21. Chio says 8. I'm sure just the red states. This is I'm really interesting you said that, Thomasina. When you see the graphic, you're going to be like, I did not think that that was the case. Mike says 20. Big Eb says 15. RG, you're way off. Here, let me bring it up here and show you. And I hope you guys like this one. This is a really cool page. I will copy it over in a chat in case you guys would like to have, kind of keep tabs. Oh, I can't. I have to do chat through the YouTube page. This is so weird. Oh, that's why I'm doing this. Oh my goodness. Well, I just responded as Trading Academy. I'm logged in as Trading Academy. That's why I'm having issues, I think, today. Ha, that would make sense. Okay, so if you look here, you can see all these green states. All these green states have already introduced a bill. They've already introduced a strategic reserve bill. Now, some of them, the vote is in progress for Arizona and for Utah. Arizona and Utah have their vote in already, or they're voting on it. I believe 19 is the number that we're looking for as far as number of states that have a strategic Bitcoin reserve proposal. Now, I think that this is absolutely fascinating. And I think it's even more fascinating when I look here and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. The state that I thought would have it, California, nope. Most of these states don't have it yet. So we're looking at basically Midwest. So for the podcasters, we're talking Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, North and South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Illinois, Missouri, Kentucky, Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Massachusetts, all have proposals for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. This should be pretty impressive for anybody in the room to think that here's a digital asset that people are going, oh, it's a scam, it's a fraud. Yet all these states are going, no, we want to put that on our balance sheet. That should be a huge vote of confidence here. So if we do get approval, and I do believe, I think it's either Utah or Arizona has actually approved it, right? Approved it, which is interesting. That will start, I think, a cascade. And the more we get of these local states buying it, I think the more the government's going to go, well, we're going to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. When that happens, then I think we're looking at 250 as a low point. Now, question is, does it get there this year? I think so. I do believe it will happen this year. I think actually it will exceed 250 this year, but that's a lofty guess, a forecast, let's say, not a guess. It's an educated guess based off historical data, and just the fact that the last year of a 4-year cycle is usually parabolic. We're in that last year right now, and given the fact that we've seen such regulatory change, I think you'll see it much higher. So there you go. Yeah, mostly red. New Hampshire, lib state, not surprised. Illinois is the only surprise for me. Well, hopefully it'll all change. I think the appetite and attitude towards digital assets has to change. It has to change in the states, and I hope I'm in the forefront of it. The exact opposite of legal marijuana. Probably right. It'd be funny if I could have superimpose those maps over each other. You want Bitcoin or do you want weed? Which one do you want? Pick a state. All right. What else? Questions do you have? Can't wait. There's an ETF, a basket of cryptos. Yeah, Joe, they're coming. They're coming. I mentioned on the other day, there's a new one being proposed by, not Bitwise. I can't remember the name of the company, but they are creating it's not Van Eck. There's an ETF coming out that's going to be 80% Bitcoin, 20% Ethereum, but just give it another few months. You will have a diversified portfolio in one ETF, and that will be the best part. No problem. I like it. When MasterCard and Visa accept Bitcoin as payment, that would really do it. Real close. You're real close. And by the way, let's talk about that. Since you talked about you brought up Visa and MasterCard, there was one other figure that I looked at that I thought was really interesting. And let me bring up a graphic since I did create a picture for it today. It has to do with, where is it? There it is. Come on back. There we go. Credit cards. So credit card debt in the U.S., the highest ever recorded. We'll let that sink in. The credit card debt is the highest ever recorded of people carrying balances. That's I think it was $40.8 billion just on credit cards. Now you look at these credit card companies that are making, charging 29% interest for credit cards, which I think is usurious. And honestly, if I was a president, I would be going after that. And you want to talk about protecting Americans? Yeah, we have reckless spending, and I think we do need to curtail the reckless, stupid spending. I mean, the list of things that some of the spending that was going on is just jaw-dropping. Who knows? I'm going to see all of it. But you look at like a Visa, right? I mean, just in the past couple of weeks, Visa has gone from $303 to $350. That's a 15% move in 18 days. This is a credit card company. How are they making so much money? Because people are carrying balances, and these balances are getting higher and higher and higher. There are actual stat on it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was a statistic about the number of people who are just making the minimum payment has been like the highest it's been in a long time. And as we all know, when you're making your minimum payment, you're not getting out of it. You'll never clear yourself out of that debt making the minimum payment. And it's just really unfortunate. Here we are in an economy that most people feel is thriving, yet when we have people taking on more debt, that tells me that we're not all thriving. That there's a lot of people who don't have money, yet they're trying to keep up with a quote-unquote thriving economy and maybe buying things that they shouldn't. Well, stop that spending, people. Stop it. If you're paying the minimum, and I might strike a chord here with some of you, I apologize, but if any of you are just paying the minimum, you should sit down and seriously consider what you're buying, what you're spending money on, and stop buying things that aren't absolutely necessary and pay off that credit card so you get it to zero. And never just make the minimum. Always pay it in full. Always. It's crazy. Arizona has weed and Bitcoin. Man, that's it. Steve's in Arizona. That's why you moved there, huh? What are the average credit card charge? It varies, but I've seen 24 to 29% is the average. We could do a quick little YouTube search here and say, what is the credit card rate? There you go. Gotta love AI. The average credit card interest rate for the United States was 22.8%. 22.8% in November. I mean, that's pretty bad. Let's bring it up here. I don't know who this is through, but it talks about credit scores, and this is from Blue Water Credit. So if you have great interest, great credit, maybe you can get better rates. It says 15.7, but typically I've seen 24 to 29. 29% on interest. It's just appalling. Amazing me that over the past several decades, people don't learn and live within their means. It's hard. Especially when things are good and you're surrounded by people that maybe are doing better than you financially, and you're like, they got this, and I want to go here and travel and buy all this stuff. It's tough. You have to sit back and just really be introspective and say, I know I'm not going to get. And maybe it's because people don't have a coach, right? Maybe you don't have me yelling in your ear, going, "Dude, don't carry your damn balance. Pay that thing off. Do you really need to buy another one? Get rid of that stuff." Anyway. Let me wrap up here before I get too long-winded and start going into opinions. Let's talk about our economic data for Monday. There really isn't a lot of, other than we have inflationary data happening next week. So we have CPI and PPI, and then you have Jerome Powell speaking twice next week, which will be very important. But here's Monday. You got really nothing on the calendar for Monday. Kind of a boring day. Meh. Let me look at the earnings calendar here real quick and see if we've got anything good. There are some on Monday. I do recall seeing some companies reporting on Monday that I would say are bigger names. We'll go simply by market cap. We got Mickey D's. You got McDonald's. You got Vertex Pharmaceuticals, On Semiconductor. You got Lowe's. And that's it before you start to get into the smaller cap companies. So that's your economic calendar and earnings calendar for Monday. I can't even do a poll. Dab nabbit. I can't do a poll for you guys. I was really hoping I could do a poll. Just curious who you guys got in the Super Bowl. If you're like Christian McCaffrey, who's the running back for the 49ers, they asked him, said, who do you want to win the Super Bowl? And he says, I hope they both lose. Just curious who you guys want in it. It's a tough one. And I know I got some Kansas City fans in here. I don't want the Kansas City Chiefs to win a third one. So I have to go with the Phillies, who have the worst fans in all of professional sports. But here's my forecast. All right, you guys ready? Forecast is this. The Chiefs are going to come from behind and win it at the very last minute. Down to the wire game, the Chiefs will win it. When the game is over, Travis Kelce is going to hug Taylor Swift midfield, cameras all around. Travis Kelce is going to look at the camera and say something like this. We've accomplished as a team something that no one has ever had. We have three-peated Super Bowl victories. No one's ever done that. I'm about to do something that no one else has ever done, and he's going to get down on his knees and he's going to propose to Taylor Swift live on TV for all these crazy votes and everything. That's it. It's going to be the proposal of Taylor Swift happening at the end of the game as the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. There you go. All you Swifties, he's off the market. She's going to be off the market. Done. Let's see. Who do I got here? No Super Bowl party for me. No Super Bowl party for me at all. So I got fairly even. Eagles, Chiefs, Eagles, Eagles. Well, more Eagles fans here than Swifties, that's for sure. Oh, did they? Some Eagles players got sick? They get poisoned. And by the way, I don't know if you guys caught it. The ref who officiated the Buffalo Bills Chiefs game just got, I believe, fined $500,000 and suspended for missing calls against the Chiefs. And like everybody knows that the refs are on the Chiefs' side. What's going on here? You Chiefs fans, I don't know how much you're paying these refs, but you're doing a damn good job of it. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for me. I'm going to wrap up so I can get to my meeting here. Thank you guys so much for dealing with my tech errors. Hopefully I'll have that fixed here on Monday. I don't know what's going on with my my chat box, but we managed to survive it and no major technical issues. So I hope you had a great trading week. Next week's going to be an even better one. Let's be positive. Have a great weekend. Go whatever team you're cheering for. Hope to see you guys on Monday. Take care, everybody.